WordPress Accessibility Day 2023. Simple ways to make your emails accessible. With speaker Gerson Lacdao, developer Desert Wing Design. This presentation was recorded September 28th, 2023.
Hey all, welcome back to WordPress Accessibility Day 2023. My name is Samyukta Chadram and I am Accessibility Consultant from India. And now we are back with one more new session, that is thank you for joining us for simple ways to make your emails accessible with Gerson Lacdao. A little bit about him. Gerson is the lead developer at Desert Wing Design, a digital agency based in Tucson, Arizona, that provides web design and development services from an accessibility first perspective. Through his work with Desert Wing Design and other digital agencies, Gerson hopes to help make the World Wide Web a more inclusive place for everyone, regardless of their ability or disability. When he's not busy with client work, Gerson shares his passion for web accessibility with his online community of Filipino freelancers and content creators. Outside the online realm, Gerson loves mountain biking, diving, and traveling. That's interesting. Please feel free to add your questions in the Zoom Q&A session, and we will answer them at the end of the session. Use the chat to connect with other attendees. Over to you, Gerson.
All right. Thanks for that. Hello, everyone, and welcome to WordPress Accessibility Day 2023. I'm happy to be here and present to you this talk. So in this session, I'm going to share some of the simplest but commonly overlooked ways to make your emails accessible. So, first, let me make a very quick introduction. My name is Gerson Lacdao. I'm a freelance WordPress developer based in the Philippines. I am the head of development for Desert Wing Design, a digital agency based in Tucson, Arizona, where we create and maintain beautiful websites for nonprofits and local businesses using an accessibility-first approach. I'm also the founder of Web Accessibility Philippines. It's a very young online community that shares and teaches web accessibility to Filipino freelancers. And seeing that Nobility is one of the organizers of this wonderful event, I thought it would be a bit relevant to share. Our team won last year's Accessibility Internet Rally, or AIR. So for those who don't know, AIR is a global competition wherein teams around the world create an accessible website for artists and nonprofit organizations. So I was the lead developer for the Airway team that won first place. And now let's talk about emails. So over the years, WordPress has evolved. And it's not just about website anymore. And in a lot of cases, developers and website managers also have to deal with emails. So there are transactional emails where these are commonly the notifications that we get when someone registers on your website or sends a contact message or buys something from your e-commerce website. So these are called transactional emails, and these are usually built in with themes and plugins and even the WordPress core itself. And there are also marketing emails, and most of the time we use third-party services for this. But there are also some plugins that allow us to create and send marketing emails right from the WordPress dashboard. So over the course of working with various teams and clients, I've learned how important emails are. So you can use it to build a following, nurture your audience, sell products, services, subscriptions, announcements. So basically anything, you can use it to communicate with your audience. But also in the span of time that I've focused my work on accessibility, which is around a couple of years, I've observed how emails that are supposed to be simple and straightforward can be horrendously inaccessible. So I know I no longer need to emphasize how important web accessibility is for people with disabilities, since we've been talking about it for about almost 24 hours now. but the inaccessibility of emails affects every one of us. So I'm a neurotypical person, as far as I know, with no disability, but even I have encountered numerous emails that just confused and frustrated me so much to the point that I didn't even bother making an effort to find out what it said. And a lot of times, these emails contain crucial information that not being able to access them could mean missing out on important events or missing out on deadlines, missing payments. And for a lot of people with disabilities, this happens pretty often. So for businesses, this could mean not reaching your potential market or wasting resources, such as when you have a beautiful campaign designed and it doesn't work because it's not accessible. So you miss your opportunity to grow your audience, your brand awareness, your sales, and even alienating those who are already subscribed to you. So before I go ahead and share how to make emails accessible, I'd like to point out a very important information about email, specifically the design and development of emails. So you're probably aware that we have a standard for the web. So we have the W3C, or the World Wide Web Consortium. It's an international organization that develops the standard for the World Wide Web. So we have very good browser support for modern techniques and design frameworks because the W3C sets the standard for the web. But unfortunately, this isn't the same for email. So there's no standard for email, just like what we have for the web. What we have are standards set by individual email providers, those major stakeholders in email. So we have Google, Microsoft, Apple, so those major players. And they have their own standard policies and interests. They also have their own rendering engine. So if you think that the job of a web developer is difficult because we have to make sure that a web page is compatible across different browsers and operating systems, wait till you've tried email development. So in this example, I have a table here that's comparing web and email support for standards, HTML, and other things. So for HTML, we have HTML5 for the web, but for email, older versions are recommended just to maintain compatibility. For CSS, only inline CSS is supported. For email, JavaScript is not supported. Audio and video are not widely supported. In fact, I haven't seen any email with an embedded video. I think that's not possible yet. For fonts, system fonts are still recommended for maximum compatibility. Some email providers allow web fonts, but it's not widely supported. For the layout, now we have grid and flexbox for the web, but for emails, we're still stuck with nested tables, which is, I think, this goes as far back to 1990s. For images, it's widely supported, but there are some issues which I will discuss in a bit. For forms, it's not supported at all. You can just link to a form on a web page. And for fallbacks, we do this a lot with web development, but for email, it's really a must. Like for even the smallest things like font sizes, spacing, we have to have fallbacks that we have to mix modern solutions and really primitive solutions just to make emails work. So these constraints and limitations really affect accessibility. And I'm hoping that these tips would help improve the accessibility of your emails. So let's get started with text and links. This is, I think this is where email copywriters can really help with accessibility. And this is one of the easiest accessibility issues to fix. So let's get started with the text alignment. So our brains are mostly wired to read and process left-aligned text, unless you come from the part of the world where the text is written from right to left. But generally, left alignment is really good for readability and accessibility. because as you can see, the left the beginning of each line is perfectly aligned to the left, and it's easy for our eyes to see where the next line starts. Now, for center alignment, our brain now has to make some adjustments just when we get to the next line, because it starts at different places. So our brain has to make an adjustment for each line. For justified alignment, again, it's good that it starts on the left, but justified alignment also aligns all the text to the right, and it's the words inside in the middle that have to adjust in terms of spacing. So as you can see, there's an inconsistency in the spacing between the words. Some have very little spacing, some have very large spacing, and it may be trivial for some of us, and we can still read this without any problem, but there are some users who struggle with alignments like this. So center and justified alignments can be a struggle for some people to read. So the recommendation is to use left alignment. Center alignment is okay to use for headings and for maybe a couple of lines, but beyond that, I would recommend using the left alignment. For colors, the problem with colors is that when you have not enough color contrast between the text and the background. So this usually happens with headings, with custom colors, custom background colors, and with buttons. In this example, I have 3 buttons that have very light background colors. We have light pink, cyan color, and light orange, and the text is white. So the fix here is to just to make adjustments to the colors itself. So you can either make the text color darker, as I did in the second column, or make the background color a bit darker if you want to stick with the white text color. So you don't actually need to memorize the color contrast ratio that's required for the web content accessibility guidelines. If you're working mostly in browsers, you can just install an extension that checks the color contrast. And once you run it, it will tell you if the colors in your email are accessible or has enough color contrast. Text size is important for readability. So my recommendation and what I always use normally for each email is 16 pixels for body text. And for not so important content, such as those that you place in the footer, the minimum that I would use is 12 pixels. So if possible, I would also recommend using RAM units instead of pixels. So what RAM units does is it allows the user to set the size of the text. So for example, we have low vision users or even elderly users who would set the text size of their browser to large or extra large. So the RAM units would respect that. But if you use pixels, even if they've set large text to display on their browsers, it's going to stick with the 16 pixels. So if possible, if your email editor allows it, use RAM units. And also allow for good line height and white space between paragraphs just to have enough breathing room. And it's much easier to read that way. Headings and lists are used to break down the contents. So make it more organized and not make it like a huge chunk of text that's immediately overwhelming. You haven't even started yet, but it doesn't sound inviting to read. So use headings to break down your emails into subtopics. And the consideration for headings is not to skip heading levels. So if we start with H1, and then for subtopics in your email, use H2. And if there are subtopics within those subtopics, use H3 and so forth until heading level 6 or H6. And for lists, we have an ordered list and ordered list. So if you have ideas that you don't need a specific order, you can use an ordered list. And for step-by-step instructions or processes, you can use ordered lists. So these are usually available in email editors, in text editors of your email software. You can the ordered list is usually a bullet button, and the ordered list is numbered button. So for links, I recommend having a different color for links so that it's easy to spot, like just one glance in the email copy and you can determine that this text is a link. So I use a different color that stands out between the link and the surrounding text. And aside from the color, I also add an underline just to add an additional distinguishing mark for the links. I also encourage using descriptive text instead of very generic and vague text in your links, like click here or read more or learn more. So those are not very accessible for screen reader users. When they list all the links in the email, they would see a bunch. They could probably see a bunch of read more, read more, read more. So those don't have any context to them. So they wouldn't know where those links go to. So as much as possible, let's use descriptive text in our links. Readability. And I think this is where many email copywriters can really help with the accessibility of your email copy. So with readability, you can use Hemingway app, or you can just search for a Flesch Kincaid readability score. There are a bunch of free resources that I've seen on Google, and you can use any of that. Just feed the email copy and run the test, and it will give you a feedback on what reading level your copy is. So you can make adjustments. If it gets too high, you can make an adjustment and make sure that I think the recommended is 8th grade reading level. So that's what I would recommend. And use simple and plain language as much as possible. Let's avoid using jargons. I know this can be at times really necessary. I mean, I manage a website for scientists, and there are some words that can be really foreign to some of us. But the important thing is to just make sure that if you use these words, you add an explanation on what it is. So for those who don't know, they would have an idea on what it is. If you have acronyms, you can also just spell it out. And avoid large blocks of text. This is also one of the skills that I've observed with email copywriters. The good ones can really break down the message in small chunks, and it's really easily digestible for a lot of people. So I've talked with a person with ADHD, and this is one of the things that I remember them saying that they're having a hard time with, like seeing a large block of text in email copy or in web copy. So make sure to break down your emails into really digestible chunks of paragraphs. Now let's go to images. So I mentioned earlier that there's a wide support for images, but there's a specific problem with emails that makes it a bit more inaccessible. So email clients don't normally load images by default. You might have observed this when you open an email and you're wondering why the emails are not loading at all. So this is some sort of a security layer that email providers add. When you open an email with images, the email server has to connect or has to ping the server that stores the images. And this is some sort of acknowledgement that your email has been opened. So if you're wondering how email softwares can track how that you've opened the email, this is probably it. So this is probably not the problem for some of us, but some marketers and some cyber criminals can actually exploit it. They can monitor our email opening pattern and just use it to their own advantage. Usually it's malicious. So that's the problem with images in emails. And if we're not using an alternative text, it can be a problem, because when you open the email and they don't see the image there, if you don't have any alt text, they wouldn't know what the image is about. So some users probably won't see the link where you can load all the images, and that would make your emails not display or not tell them that you have images in your emails. So in WordPress, you can easily add alternative text for your images. There's an input field for that. And for decorative images, you don't need to add any alt text because it doesn't add any valuable information to the email. You can just skip the alt text. And you can even hide it from screen reader users, but I guess that's something that's not always so simple to do, so I'm skipping that one. For linked images, instead of describing the image, you should say where that link goes. So maybe you're linking to the homepage of your website, or linking to the products page, or maybe to a different website. So that's what you should do for links. Now, there are emails where it's just one single image. I've seen a lot of e-commerce websites do this. Also, even large companies that have this frequent promotions, and they just insert this one image, send it out as an email, and that's it. So when you open that email, especially if it doesn't have an alt text, you're just gonna see this image on the left, which is essentially a blank email. So if your subscribers don't know how to load these images, instead of seeing this view on the right, where you have a beautifully designed campaign, they're gonna see what's on the left side, which is a blank page. So imagine if you're a business owner or an email marketer and you do emails like this, you don't know why you're not getting the conversions that you're projecting, because your emails are not accessible. So make sure that the next time you run your campaign, make sure that you don't use image-only emails. As much as possible, just use text. And if you have to insert images, make sure that it's only when it's necessary. So especially for your call to actions, those are really important to be in text form instead of images that are linked to your landing page. So just use text for your call to actions. Even if the images don't load, users can still see the call to action. Animated GIFs are actually supported very well. I think it's just Outlook that has some problems, like not loading the first the animation, only the first frame. So some versions only load the first frame and not load the entire animation. So if the GIF file is really crucial to your campaign, I would recommend just making sure that the important content in the GIF is in the first frame. And as with any other images, provide an alt text, what that image is about, and how it relates to your email. And very important thing, never use flashing animations in your GIF file. So you can induce some very serious physical reactions, nausea, vomiting, even seizures. So avoid using any type of flashing animations. Now let's go to email code. Now this might not be so simple, but email editors can let us edit the HTML code. And if there are any email designers and developers here, this would be very useful for them. So let's go with the table row. So I mentioned earlier that emails use tables, HTML tables in the design and the layout. So the thing with tables is that screen readers present them as a data table to the users. So let's go back to one of our slides earlier. So this is a data table where it presents the differences between the web and email. So a screen reader would say something like this to a user. So this is a table, and there are this number of columns and rows, and these are the headers. So for example, in line 5, JavaScript is fully supported in web and not supported in email. On the next line, audio and video are fully supported in web, but not widely supported in email. So that's how screen readers would present a table to a user. So imagine if it presents it like that, but it doesn't make any sense because it's not presenting an actual data. So for tables that are used for design and layout, the simple fix is to use this, to add this attribute called role, and the value is presentation. So you can find any instances of table that's used as that's used for layout, and add role equals presentation, and it would omit the table part to the user. So they wouldn't say this is a table. They would just present what's inside of the table. So just the contents. For semantic HTML, this is really important, even in the web and in email. Semantic HTML allows screen readers to understand the content of your email and the organization, the hierarchy of your email content. So instead of typing your heading as a normal paragraph and then increasing its size and then changing the color, making it into a bold format, instead of doing that, just select the text, and in your email editor, choose heading as the element. So we have several levels of headings from H1 to H6. So use the proper heading level. And for ordered and unordered lists, we also have an element for each of those, as I've mentioned before. And for paragraphs, instead of using line breaks where you press enter twice to sort of start a new paragraph, you should use paragraphs instead. I think in WordPress isn't a problem. Like when you press enter in WordPress, a new line starts and a new paragraph starts. You don't even have to press enter twice. But with some email editors, when you enter twice, it looks like you're starting a new paragraph, but it's really just adding a line break to your email. So semantically, that's not correct. So starting a paragraph is the way to go. So if you can view the HTML code of your email, just check that you're starting a new paragraph for each paragraph instead of adding a line break. Now for our final reminders, the first one, everyone can contribute to accessibility. So I normally talk with designers and developers in my group, and this has been a really great opportunity to speak with email copywriters, because as I want to always say, accessibility is a collaborative effort. It's not just designers and developers that have this responsibility of making our products accessible. It's every one of us that should make this contribution. The second one, write your emails with the accessibility first approach. And this is just to use empathy. If we understand how people with disabilities view and read our emails, we can use that as consideration when writing the emails. And last but not the least, spread the culture of web accessibility within your communities. So it's one of the best ways to help make the web an inclusive and accessible place. So thank you so much for attending my talk. Thank you so much for the organizers of WordPress Accessibility Day for this opportunity.
Thank you, Gerson. That's a fantastic thing. You have given us a great insights with respect to email accessibility. And we have few questions for you here. With regards to using REM, is it better than EM? Not just in emails, but also for web?
For font size, I normally just recommend REM. I use M for spacing. So those are the use cases for each.
Sorry, folks. Sorry, I'm just interrupting. We're having a bit of a problem with the interpreters. If everybody can just give me a second. I am trying to assign the current interpreter, but I only see Edgar A in the list. So is the interpreter that's currently online able to check that things are right on their side? Sorry to interrupt everybody.
I see the other interpreter already interpreting.
Yes, I do see the other interpreter already interpreting, but I don't see that interpreter in the list to be able to select and add as an interpreter in Zoom. I only see Molly P and Edgar A.
Yes, it should be Molly P.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, that's my confusion. I apologize. No, I can't click start. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, sir. Thank you. There is another question, Gerson. Will a screen reader read the entire subject line and also the preview text?
Okay. I actually haven't tested this, but I think if it's available, it will read it.
And do screen readers evaluate the entire email in the same way as an entire web page? So users can skip around to different sections of the email message.
Okay, so with web, we typically use sections to create the regions in the web content. For emails, as I mentioned, we use tables. I think the way screen readers would skip to different sections is through the headings. So those are probably one of the most useful ways to help users navigate the emails or just scan your emails.
Great, thanks for that. And we have a couple of questions in the list. Can you set up a style element inside the email HTML so that you don't need to have all your styles inline, or is this not supported as well as inline?
What I actually do is have both. So I have a style element in the header, and I also style inline. So as I said, it's really a headache developing emails.
And it is worth, I think, our efforts are useful for someone else. Yes, right. And there is one more. So adding role of presentation on the table won't make the whole table disappear for screen reader users. That's what would happen for images, right?
It doesn't make the table disappear, but it just helps the screen reader better convey the information to the users. So instead of presenting the email as a table, it will just announce the content inside the table.
Okay, That's helpful information, Gerson, and thank you for your time and giving us a lot of inputs. And thank you all for attending the session with Gerson. And you can continue with the conversation in the chat or on social media using hash WPA11YDay and hash WPAD 2023. We also appreciate if you go to 2023.wpaaccessibility.date/feedback to provide anonymous feedback to our speakers on their presentation and can enter a swags over there. And stay tuned for the next talk, that is authoring tool accessibility guideline, going above and beyond web content accessibility guideline by Helen Burt at 9 UTC. Don't forget to visit our sponsor page to get virtual swags and enter a chance to win great prizes. See you right after the break.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you to WordPress Accessibility Day 2023 sponsors. Platinum sponsor, Equalize Digital. Equalize Digital's Accessibility Checker plugin is an automated accessibility scanning tool that helps WordPress websites become and stay accessible. Platinum sponsor, Gravity Forms. Gravity Forms is the professional form builder that you need to create beautiful, powerful, and accessible forms. Gold sponsors, 20i, DQ, Empire Caption Solutions, Pressable, and WP Engine. Silver sponsors, CodeGeek, Drake Cooper, GoDaddy, Lone Rock Point, NerdPress, Overnight Website by Kinetic Iris, Riola Networks, A11Y Collective, and The Blogsmith. Bronze sponsors, Accessicart, Green Geeks Web Hosting, Hall Analysis SEO Consulting, HDC, ITX, IvyCat, MetaBox, Pixel Chefs, Simply Schedule Appointments, SiteGround, Termageddon, Underrepresented in Tech, Weglot, and Yoast.